All right. It's a little bit earlier than I have been getting to the stream recently. Give it a second. Try and let everything stabilize a little bit. Got new beans today. I mean, I got them yesterday, but I haven't made a cup without them with them yet. So we're gonna be trying the new coffee. Should be good. My local coffee shop here. I'm really enjoying. Reasons one, they do good pour overs and stuff. They do have nice beans for drip, not just for espresso, which is kind of rare. I mean, it's not the rarest, but a lot of shops don't really have much in the way of good drip. But also, they do unlimited refills on drip, so that's really nice. I can sit and have a couple cups. Now the drip is not the same as the pour over, so it's not quite the same. It's not quite as good, but it is still nice. This is a washed Kenyan roast from 1900 meters, which is very high. I like a high grown coffee bean. I find that it is a little bit sharper, get a little bit more fruit flavor to it, and that matters to me. I like my coffee to be tart. I don't like it to be bitter. I like it to be sharp. This is going really well so far with the streaming. Well, whatever. Yeah, so we've got about 15 minutes left in this video, so I'll wrap it up. I am sick. I started feeling pretty miserable last night, and I'm not feeling a whole lot better today, but it is what it is. Just don't know how to improve this the stream quality. I mean, I think probably the problem is just that I should not be using a hotspot to stream, but it is what it is. This is what we got for now. All right, enough filibustering. Let's get to the shit.
Bunch of Jews, like a one world government over 28 countries, and you've got it.
It's important to remember in these heated up political times that we're currently living in that you need to have respectful dialogue with these people, right? You just need to have a respectful debate and listen to his ideas and take them seriously, and then try to counter his ideas with my ideas. And that's just how you need to be in today's political system. You got to treat each other with respect, and you got to treat this guy with respect because he's just voicing his opinion. Doesn't matter that his opinion is heinous and denies the Holocaust. It's his opinion. You just need to engage on a polite level and be respectful. You may be picking up that I don't value that sort of approach, and it's because I don't. People like this, it doesn't matter. You don't need to engage with them because they're not talking to you. They don't care what you think. They're happy to argue with you and they're happy to waste your time. But he's not trying to convince me, you know. He is trying to convince really dumb people who are already racist. Like, this performance is not for me. He doesn't care if I respect him. I mean, I'm white, so maybe he does. You know, he probably would be offended that I don't understand my history or whatever. But he doesn't care if I agree with him or disagree with him. That's not the point. The point is he wants to be free to spread this sort of hate. And he did not, I mean, he went to jail, but he didn't really have serious consequences for it. You know, he was able to do this until he died. Of natural causes, mind. Not because somebody thought that this guy he's denied the Holocaust enough, you know, we need to deal with him. He just got sick and died. Which I think is a shame, you know? I think that's a shame that he was able to live out his life. He should have been in jail, right? We don't have to be extra judicial. Assalamu alaikum, Sharif. I am sick, so my attitude might not be the best today.
Adhere to the European Union Commission of the Jews, of the Jew bitch Merkel, who is the chairman of the European Union, to allow these invaders to come in and destroy you, exploit you, rob you and rape you, kill you and maim you, and steal your effort, your sweat and toil that you work for.
Again, like, part of the appeal, right? Part of the message of white supremacy is everything good was done by us, right? We are the ones who built it, which is factually inaccurate. It is true that a lot of the exploration of the Americas was done by white people. That part is true. You know, a lot of the people who were moving west, a lot of that was white people. That's true. But who built the stuff? Who created the economic engine? A lot of that was forced labor, non-white forced labor. Who built the railroads? Mostly Chinese people, right? Who made the South an economic powerhouse? Mostly black people. Now, you can say that, well, the white people owned the land, and so, you know, it's their investment. But if I know that I have free labor, it's an easy investment to me. So this is just, I mean, literally, it's whitewashing, right? It's saying, don't worry about the real history, because what you need to remember is that white people did everything good. Everything good has been done by white people. And also, anybody that says white people did anything bad are lying because they don't like white people. If you cannot hear people say negative things about who you are or who your people are or your heritage, you are weak. You're weak. You're weak. I don't know what else to say. I don't like to hear bad things about myself or about my country. And yet, I know that sometimes they're true, you know? You have to be honest. You have to be honest about these things, because otherwise you are just doing propaganda, right? I appreciate your thoughts, Sharif. I am sure I will get better soon. I'm not like very sick, but I'm just unpleasant, you know, just not feeling very good. Anyway, we got to be honest about our history, because otherwise you fall into traps. And then there's a really, you know, overused probably expression that those who don't pay attention to history, those who don't know history, are doomed to repeat it. And it's a little bit trite, but if you don't take the problems of the past to heart, you will not be prepared when they come up again, right? You will make the same mistakes that the people who made them last time made. And that's not good for anybody. Boy, this is really having a hard time with this stream. My apologies. This is just the way it is right now. I can't exactly do this in public, right? I could go places where I could have Wi-Fi, but I can't really talk about or watch this stuff in a public place because people would be upset, I think. And fairly, I mean, this is upsetting stuff. I don't enjoy it, but I do enjoy being able to yell about it. I do find that to be a little bit soothing because there's a lot of bad stuff happening right now. Not just in America, but certainly in America. A lot of bad stuff is happening. And I don't have a lot of influence anywhere. There's nothing I can do or say that will change it. But this gives me a little bit of an outlet to attack some of the worst ideas, some of the nastiest rhetoric that comes from the right wing, and engage with it and tear it down, which for me, I do like being able to do that. I'm just pissing into the wind. That's truthfully, this is meaningless. What I'm doing here is not worth anything, but it gives me a little bit of a sense of control, I guess, and agency. And I wish I want to have agency.
You're getting the truth right here, right now, today.
Incorrect.
And this is a total finalization of all the presentations I've done on the White Nations. If you don't get it by now, you're never going to get it.
I guess I'm never going to get it then. Because I'm too dumb. I'm just too dumb to understand.
And how are you going to survive? You have got to survive physically. You have got to take these pests. You have got to clean your nation. You have got to wipe them out, stamp them out, throw them out, bury them. It is your only way of survival in Sweden and coming to Germany and France too. Norway, Finland, England, Ireland, and Scotland, Italy, even in Greece, Australia, New Zealand.
Hello, Selma.
This is why
I'm going to apologize in advance. My stream quality is not very good today. So if it's stuttery, if it's not very clear, that's my fault. It's not your fault. It's just bad internet right now. Hope you're doing well. I hope I assume you're in school at the moment, so I hope school is going well. Your studies. Always happy to have you pop in. This is going to be a shorter stream today because the video is already almost over and I haven't had a whole lot of things to say about it. But if you have any questions, anything you want to discuss, current events, by all means, put it in the chat. I'm happy to engage with those.
I want you disarmed so the invading horde can overrun you and the crooked, rotten politicians will support the invaders over you. It has been a plan, an internal plan of subversion and treason to destroy.
This is the same stuff that the Nazis said in World War II. I mean, I know that it's really pretty basic to say that because it's not very interesting maybe, but the Nazis had the exact same rhetoric about Jewish people and socialists, right? It was internal sabotage by these people who look like Germans. Maybe they spoke German, but they're not really Germans. You know, they're trying to sabotage Germany from the inside, and that's why we have to get rid of them. How is, you know, this is zero different to that. It's just America and not Germany.
The white culture of the white nations, including the United States of America.
Also, what the fuck is white culture? I mean, tell me what white culture is, right? I don't know how to explain it. What? Watching fucking Andy Griffith show? Not seasoning your meat? I don't know. What is white culture? These people are really concerned about Western culture and white culture and Western, but like an awful lot of Western values are also held by people who don't come from white countries. You know, some Western values, in fact, came from countries that are not considered white or Western. But, you know, we just don't talk about that because it's nicer for these sorts of people to think about that. I may do this. I don't promise it, but I may pull up some driving videos from India where I've been and seen it. I'm glad you are staying safe on the streets. There's a thing called defensive driving, which I'm guessing you have already been talked about, but it's, to me, you need to do it in America, but you definitely need to do it in places where traffic rules are, let's say, less strictly followed, right? It's a little bit more every man for himself. Not only do you need to be aware of what you're doing, making sure that you're not doing anything that could endanger yourself while you're driving, you also need to make sure that you are watching other people and expecting that they're going to do something really dumb. Just assume that all the drivers on the road don't know what they're doing at all. And so you need to be prepared to take evasive action. I have heard some real horror stories about driving tests. In fact, in Egypt, I heard that the driving test in Egypt, at least at one point, was drive forward 6 feet and then put it in reverse and drive back 6 feet, and then you know how to drive. I don't know what it's like in Morocco. I assume it's a little bit. I assume it's not like that in Egypt anymore either. I don't know for sure, but I can tell you in America it's a little bit different, a little bit more involved. Are you driving a standard, or do you have an automatic? Are you hand shifting, or are you driving an automatic transmission?
Now, quote, even if we Jews are not bodily with you in the trenches, we are nevertheless morally with you. This is our war, Jew war, and you are fighting for us, novelis of the literaires.
Okay, now, Salma, you're in Morocco, right? A lot of French spoken in Morocco. That's not how you pronounce that phrase.
On February...
Right, that's not the correct pronunciation of the French.
February 10, 1940. So the Second World War, the Jews say, this is our war,
okay.
And you...
I have driven both. I've driven a standard and I've driven a manual. I don't really enjoy driving stick, but it's a useful skill. It's good to know how to be able to do it. Because if you can drive a standard, you can drive an automatic, right? You'll, I don't know. In Morocco, do you shift with your left hand or with your right hand, right? You left hand drive or right hand drive? The only thing that will change when you go from a standard to an automatic is for the stick to shift it, and you won't have to do it. You'll just, I don't have to do that anymore. It's nice. It's just you have to do a little bit less thinking when you drive an automatic. But it's useful to be able to drive a standard, especially when you can drive it in low gears, right? When you can drive it in first and second. Your right-hand drive, so you're shifting with your left. Okay. Yeah, so you'll find yourself, whenever you get in an auto, you'll find yourself reaching for the shifter, and then you'll be like, what am I doing? I don't need to do anything. I put my foot down on the gas and it goes. You don't have to worry about the clutch. But it's kind of fun, when you're shifting and you're getting on the clutch, it kind of feels like you're driving a race car. So I don't mind stick, but I prefer an automatic myself.
Dumb white people are fighting and slaughtering each other for us. And Walter Cronkite, I used to call him Walter Krankenkike.
Wow.
Our task is not to tell the truth. We are opinion molders. And use the courts, use the judges, use the Constitution of the country, use its medical societies and its laws to further our ends. Do not stint in your labor in this direction, and when you have succeeded, you will discover that you can now affect your own legislation at will. And you can, by careful organization, by constant campaigns about the terrors of society, by pretense to your effectiveness. Make the capitalist himself, by his own appropriation, finance a large portion of the quiet Jewish communist conquest.
Remember, this is I just try to mention it whenever he brings it up. To Jim, and to a lot of people who are strongly anti-communist, communism is Jewish. It's not a political ideology. It is explicitly something that comes from Jewish people. That's not true. There are all kinds of... I've been reading a book about the labor movement in the U.S. in the late 1800s. And everybody was getting exploited by the capitalists, right? Back in the 1800s in the U.S., they were fighting and being killed by government / local government / private security forces. Workers were being killed fighting for the right to only have to work 10 hours a day. Now in the US now, a standard work day is 8 hours. That's the expectation, is 8 hours. And they were getting killed fighting for the rights for 10 hours. Because previously they were working 12 and 14-hour days. And they were not getting paid well. They kept having their wages reduced. It is foolishness to say that workers never had a reason to be upset with the people who had the money. Because the people who had the money wanted to make more of it, and they wanted to pay the people that were making them money less. Right? If you are... Let's say you do garment work, right? You're a seamstress, so you're doing a lot of sewing. The person who owns the factory, or the person who owns the company, or the person who owns the workshop, they make the money from the shirt that you sewed, right? You sew the shirt, and then they sell it, and they get the money from the shirt that they sold. But they wouldn't have a shirt to sell if you weren't making it. So why don't you deserve a piece of that, right? Why don't you deserve a little bit of the profit from your labor? I don't think that is a complicated thing to understand, right? If I am not here to do this job, the job doesn't get done. Therefore, I am important. I am valuable in this operation. And people started to understand that. Part of it was Marx, right? Part of it was the Communist Manifesto, this idea that labor is entitled to the fruits of labor, right? But It's not hard to understand either as a normal person. No political ideology. You don't have to be even interested in politics or anything, right? But when you start to think, I worked a job. This is true. Okay, this is a personal story. This is true. I worked a job. Very, very unpleasant. Manual labor. Really not a good job. I made $10.50, which is obviously, it's not bad depending on where you are in the world. But where I was in America, it was not enough money to feed myself consistently, right? I was usually eating 2 meals a day because I just wasn't making enough money to pay for my rent. I didn't have any insurance, and I was trying to pay my bills. And so, I was just not making very much. My boss, my direct boss, made $100,000 a year. And he didn't do the work that I did. His job was just to oversee things. And he made easily double, triple what I made in a year. Maybe 4 times what I made in a year. And you don't have to be political to understand that he's not doing anything, and yet he is getting all this money for my work. Right? You don't have to be a communist to understand that. But part of the problem people like Jim have is class solidarity. When you start to look around and go, hey, you're getting screwed and I'm getting screwed and she's getting screwed. We're all getting screwed, and the only person who's making money is the person at the top. When you start to see that, you stop worrying so much about. Now, in America, it was obviously there was racism against black people, but there was also a lot of racism against European immigrants, Polish people, Germans, like Romanians, Hungarian, right? Because they would come and they would work for less. So let's just make it really simple. Let's say I was willing to work for $1 a day. All right. Well, you might be able to get a Polish guy or an Irish guy to work for 80 cents a day. So you're saving money, right? So now I feel like I'm not getting work because this guy, this foreigner, is taking the job away from me. He's taking money out of my mouth. He's keeping me from being able to feed my family. But what I'm not understanding is that he is being taken advantage of worse than I was. He's getting paid less money to do the same job, and I wasn't being paid enough as it is, right? $1 isn't enough. And so when you start to understand that everybody is being taken advantage of, you can get class solidarity. Class solidarity is where you say we're all poor. It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter what language you speak, what religion you are. We're all poor, and we're all being taken advantage of by the rich. When you start to do that, racism stops being such a concern, right? Because you're not worried about preserving, it's not about I want American workers to make more money and screw these other. I want everybody to have a better life. All of the poor, all of the underclass. I want us all to be able to have success as opposed to just a few of us. And that's dangerous for white supremacists because their whole thing is saying you don't have anything in common with these foreigners. You're better than these foreigners. They're stealing money from you. Anyway, class solidarity to me is very, very important. Boy, I'm looking at your comments. I would be very scared to be on the road in Morocco. Same thing in India. Like when we travel, my family has traveled. We didn't drive, right? We hired somebody who lived there and who knew how to drive on those roads to drive us around. Because if the learn how to drive test is go forward and reverse, that difficult for somebody who comes from our set of rules to adjust to that, right? It's very much the Wild West, as we would say it. But I hope that you are learning, and I hope that you do get a little bit less scared. The more you do it, the more comfortable you will get, right? The more practice you have, the better you'll feel about it. And I will say, I noticed this in India. I don't know about Morocco, but I did notice in India, a lot of the time the driving was not fast. So it was chaotic and it was kind of scary, but nobody was going very fast because there were there were people in the way. Well, let's see here. I'm gonna try to pull up like rush hour traffic in LA. And then I'll pull up rush hour or just regular traffic in somewhere else. It's like, we're not going to watch all of this, of course. We'll just watch a little bit. I lived here. I have done this driving. Like, this is a place that I actually lived in my real life. Eventually, the video will load. Okay. I have driven past this building. We'll just skip ahead a little bit. So this is Wilshire Boulevard in Los Angeles, right? You got the stoplight. You can see the traffic there in the back. We've got the road signs. We've got people walking across, right? It's very organized. It's pretty busy. It's pretty busy, but it's very organized. And everybody knows the rules. Everybody follows the rules. We got all these signs, right? This sign says no left turn. One way, so you can only be driving one direction. You can't come towards traffic on this road. I don't know why this person is just sitting at a... But again, like I've been here. This is part of where I used to work. It was in this area. I've been to that LA, Los Angeles. So this is big city traffic in America. You know, it can be stressful when it's really busy, but pretty much everybody knows what they're doing. Let's see. This is where I've been in India. Wow, this is great. This is a great video. Boy, that's terrible. I love Amalapuram, by the way. I love southern India. I think it's really beautiful. It's the more I learn about the legacy of here, rush hour is this is rush hour. This is probably 6:30. It says it's sunset. So it's not very fast traffic, right? But it's pretty congested. There are a lot of cars on the road. Playa del Rey, 105. Yeah, I mean it's a beautiful place. Bad as traffic can be, it is gorgeous. And again, it's stressful, because the roads are good, so everybody's able to go reasonably fast. So when you're in small towns or on bad roads, the people may not follow the rules very well, but you can't go very fast. Your car just can't go very fast because the roads aren't good enough. On roads like this that are nicely paved and well marked, you can do 85 miles an hour, or 110, 120 kilometers an hour. You're not supposed to, but you can. And so it can be pretty stressful because people are aggressive. Yeah. Very little honking. That was one of the things that we noticed in India. I'm gonna see if I can find a good one, but here we go. I don't know where this is, but that's what I noticed in India. Honking, constant honking. This may seem a little bit more familiar to you, but people just drive at random. It's like there's no rules. They just like get into traffic and figure it out. The thing that was really, really surprising to us was buses would have yield signs on the front. Basically, the rule in India, at least in my experience, the rule in India was whoever has the biggest vehicle has right of way. So if you're driving a bus and somebody else is driving a car, they move. That's the rule. But there's just people in the road all the time. People walking with holding hands in the middle of the street. It's very exciting. Very exciting. But it's very, very stressful as somebody who is not used to that sort of traffic. But yeah, it's just horns. Every 2 seconds there's a horn, just to remind people that you're there. 4 or 5, I would assume it's similar in Morocco, where you'll have people on mopeds. You'll have 3 or 4 people on a moped, like mom and dad and then the 2 little kids on a moped. People hanging off the sides of vehicles, right? Back of a truck. Very exciting. I loved it. I thought it was really exciting. I wouldn't drive it, is the thing, right? I would not be willing to risk my life or somebody else's life by trying to drive in this kind of traffic because I don't know how to drive it. I'm not used to it. But, boy, I couldn't close my eyes. I'll tell you what. I was very looking around what's happening? Oh, there's goats in the road. Oh, look at all those chickens. Thrilling stuff. Alright, that's probably enough. But yeah, so I love being in countries where the road rules are a little different. Yeah, we basically, what we were taught when we were over there was just don't make eye contact. When you cross the road, do not look at don't look at traffic. Just go across. Because if you look and they know that you see them, if you get hit, it's your fault. It doesn't matter about pedestrian. It just, if they know that you saw them coming, it's your fault if they hit you. That's not how it is in America. Again, it's probably better. It's very dangerous to drive in a lot of these countries. There are a lot of traffic fatalities, but it's not as exciting. All right, a few more minutes of this.
Address of the Jew, Laventria Bera, NKVD Jew butcher. In the Khatan Forest Massacre, it was Bera of the NKVD who butchered tens of thousands of true Polish officers, their wives, and their beautiful children.
Hey, how do you know they had beautiful children? Maybe their children were ugly. Not all children are beautiful. You know, some children look like they will have a tough time until they get older.
His communist textbook on psychopolitics, page 8. And what did the U.S. Civil War General William Sherman say? Quote, "We must not these."
I've talked about this before. I'll just reiterate it here because, you know, not everybody hears these when I say them, and most people don't go back and watch the streams. Just because somebody in the past said something racist doesn't mean that they were right to say it. It just means they were racist, right? Just because somebody said that black people aren't capable of learning doesn't mean that they were right to say that. It just means that you agree with them, right? I think that's an important thing to point out because, yeah, you can find quotes, you can find sources to back up your belief that, see, look, these people in the past, they knew the Jews were bad too, right? You can make that argument, but it's not valid. Just because somebody in the past was racist in the same way that you are racist now doesn't mean that their opinions were correct. It just means that you agree with them. Some people, dumb people, believe that the world is flat. And then say, look, people in the past also used to think proof. But that's not proof that their belief is correct, that other people were stupid in the same way that they are stupid. And I think that's important to consider. Just because somebody says something you agree with doesn't mean you're both right. You could both be wrong. Now, in a lot of cases, not all cases, but in a lot of cases, the sorts of things that Jim is talking about are also made up. Like, they are not real quotes, or they weren't said by real people. There's no proof that anybody actually said it. So he's lying and he's lying, right? He's lying twice. But there are plenty of people in the past who were super racist. It was very popular. But it doesn't mean it was right for them to be that way. Henry Ford, famous car manufacturer, Henry Ford, printed up 50,000 copies of the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion, an anti-Semitic hoax put out by Russia in the early 1900s, late 1800s. He was famously anti-Semitic. But that doesn't mean he was right just because he believed it. This is a trap that people fall into. And it bothers me deeply. It really does. Just because you believe something, just because I believe something, just because somebody famous or that you think is smart, just because they believe something, doesn't make it true. It's true if it's true, believes it. If you can go find out that something you believe is true, that's great. Stay with it. But just because somebody says it's true doesn't make it true. And you believing something is not good enough, right? I don't care about your opinion if your opinion is wrong, like factually, provably wrong. If you believe that apple candy is better than lemon candy, whatever. I don't care. You know, I would probably disagree with you because I really like lemon. But this is not an important argument to make, right? It's just an opinion. But if you believe that the world is flat, and I know that the world isn't flat, I don't care about your opinion, and I do not have to treat it with respect because it is factually wrong. And you do not get credit, you do not get my respect just because you really believe it. I don't care. I don't care if you really believe it. It's wrong. It's factually wrong, and believing it does not make it right. I am somewhat motivated by things that are happening currently in America with this. This is on my mind a little bit. Good coffee. All right, back to it.
Swarms of Jews who went into the South. They were the carpetbaggers who are trading, bartering, and robbing. Also, Charles Lindbergh,
famously
the greatest
anti-Semitic.
danger to this country, as well as in all the other white nations, lies in their large ownership and influence in our motion pictures, our press, our radio, and our government. Charles A. Lindbergh. The speech in Des Moines, Iowa, September 11, 1941. And what did Alexander Solzhenitsyn say?
That was pretty close, actually. Solzhenitsyn, but...
Quote, he informed an incredulous world that the blood-maddened Jewish terrorists had murdered 66 million white Russian Christian victims.
Again, he's doing some editorializing. Well, I'm always happy to chat. Good luck with your driving. Thanks for keeping me company while I do this. Eventually, I will have proper internet again.
In Russia from 1918 to 1957. Solzhenitsyn cited Cheka Order number 10, issued on January 8, 1921. And Napoleon Bonaparte, you French people, said, you're a student of history, and you know that both the Borgias and the Medicius are Jewish families of Italy. Surely you know that there have been popes from both of these houses. Perhaps it will surprise you to know that we have had 20 Jewish popes. And when you have sufficient time, which may coincide with my free time, I can show you these names and dates. You will learn from these that the crimes committed in the name of the Catholic Church were under Jewish popes. The leaders of the Inquisition was one D. Torgomir, the Jew, the monster, a devil in shoe leather. That's who controls your corrupt politicians, not only in the other white nations, but in the United States too. Here we have Bernard M. Baruch, a Jew, by the Knickerbocker Press in Albany, New York, August 8, 1918. He said, we are living in a highly organized state of socialism. The state is all. The individual is of importance.
In 1918, this guy, I mean, look, I talk about this. A lot of the time I think his quotes are manufactured. This is pre-Roosevelt. Who is thinking that the U.S. is living in a state of socialism pre-Roosevelt? Post-World War I just ended. Maybe you could argue that, like, some state control of some industries, you know, like to keep the war machine going, but I don't know I don't know what this is attempting to prove.
Only as he contributes to the welfare of the state. His property is only his as the state does not need it. He must hold his life and his possessions at the call of the state, unquote. Already in 1918, the United States had entered into Jewish socialism. The Jew took over the money control on Christmas night of 1913 with the Federal Reserve Act.
Not true. A common argument
Quote,
from people like
the
this,
Jewish people as a whole will be its own Messiah. It will attain world domination by the dissolution of other races, by the abolition of frontiers, the annihilation of monarchy.
Oh no, we can't get rid of monarchy.
And by the establishment of a world republic, a one world government, in which the Jews will everywhere exercise the privilege of citizenship, only the Jews. In this new world order, the Jew will furnish all the leaders without encountering opposition. The governments of the different people forming the world republic, such as the United Nations, will fall without difficulty into the hands of the Jews. It will then be possible for the Jewish rulers to abolish private property and everywhere to make use of the... Thus will the promise of the Talmud, see, not the Bible, thus with the promises of this evil, filthy book, the Talmud, be fulfilled. in which is said that when the Masonic time is come, the Jews
Messianic.
will have it in their hands. Baruch Levy, letter to Karl Marx, alias Moses Mordecai Levy, a Jew. La Revue de Paris, page 54, June 1, 1928. And I'm going to be ending this at this time with one of the most powerful prophetic statements said by a founder, an original founder of the United States of America, who had hit the nail so hard on the head, all right.
He shouldn't like Benjamin Franklin. Like, there are a lot of reasons why Benjamin Franklin is not a great example of American values. He loved prostitutes. Just for one thing, he loved prostitutes. I got no problems with it, personally. You know, everybody's got to make a living. But people like Jim, they're moralizers. They're really concerned with what you do with your body. And Franklin was not living up to those kinds of standards.
Please listen carefully and intently to all of you wherever you are. In whatever white nation you said it, relating to this prophecy by Benjamin Franklin was made in a chit-chat around the table during intermission at the Philadelphia Constitutional Convention of 1787. This statement was recorded in the diary of a delegate from South Carolina. He said, quote, "I fully agree with General Washington that we must protect this young nation from an insidious influence and impenetration. The menace, gentlemen, is the Jews. In whatever country Jews have settled in any great number, they have lowered its moral tone, depreciated its commercial integrity, have segregated themselves and have not been assimilated, have sneered at and tried to undermine the Christian religion and culture upon which that nation is founded by objecting to its restrictions, and have built up a state within a state, and when opposed have tried to strangle that country to death financially, as in the case of Spain and Portugal. For over 1,700 years, the Jews have been bewailing their sad fate, that they have been exiled from their homeland, as they call Palestine. But gentlemen, did the world give it to them in simple fee? They would at once find out why. Because Jews, they are vampires, and vampires do not live on vampires. They cannot live only among themselves. They must subsist on the Christians and the other people not of their race. If you do not exclude them from these United States in the Constitution, in less than 200 years, they will have swarmed here in such great number that they will dominate and devour the land and change our form of government. White European Americans have shed our blood, given our lives, our substance, and jeopardized our liberty. If you do not exclude them, in less than 200 years, our descendants will be working in the fields to furnish them substance, while they will be in the county houses rubbing their hands.
Again, I know I said I don't generally go in and fact check these things because I don't think it's worth my time, but we'll fact check this. What do you know? What do you know? It's made up. It is invented by William Dudley Pelley in a pro-Nazi magazine. I mean, like, whatever.
Warn you, gentlemen, if you do not exclude Jews for all time, your children will curse you in your graves. Jews, gentlemen, are Asiatics. Let them be born where they will, nor how many generations they are away from Asia. They will never, their ideas do not conform to the white Americans, and will not even though they live among us 10 generations. A leopard cannot change its spots. Jews are Asiatics. They are a menace to this country of permitted entrance, and should be excluded by this constitutional convention. Yes? This is from the mouth of Benjamin Franklin.
It is not. It is from a neo-Nazi magazine. Well, I guess it was a pre-Nazi, sort of. I mean, it is a Nazi magazine.
Now, as we take and have brought the information to you, again, and again I want to thank you for allowing me into your living rooms.
Fuck you.
This has been an educational presentation of understanding. Of truth, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Your mind, okay? You know, let's get some truth, some WD-40 in your ears and get the gears going there between your ears and the gray matter, all right? Don't believe the electric toilet called television. Don't read the syndicated Jewish newspapers or their magazines, all right? Most of the truth today, a lot of the truth, is on the alternative news network called the computer. But the real truth, the real down-to-earth basic understanding of truth is right here on Arcodius or Arcodius Reloaded. In the name of Yahweh the Christ, I say that to you. I say it to you, and I say it to you with all the muster I can to lift you up to a higher level of understanding as to why you are meticulously being destroyed and your culture annihilated, no matter in what white country you live in. Your donations are greatly appreciated and needed for the continuation of these full and true.
Fuck you. Alright, well, that's it. I mean, that's not it. There are more videos, but that's it for today. And finally, finish this one.
Truthful presentations that are viewed on Arcodius or Arcodius Reloaded and on DVD. I want to thank you for those who have contributed, and may Yahweh the Christ bless all of you. Because you see, you receive not because you ask not. Thus I ask for your contributions. And you get not because you change not. You refuse to listen to the point-blank, common, down-to-earth, common sense, truth, and understanding of who is destroying you, your families, and the white nations of the world. Yes, who is behind the invaders of the white nations? I'm Dr. James P. Wickstrom, P.O. Box 308, Linwood, Michigan, 48634 of the U.S. of A. You can go to Arcodius on YouTube, of where you will be watching this, many of you, or Arcodius Reloaded, little typo, on YouTube. My blog site for my radio messages and other interesting subject matter, www.jameswickstrom.com, My email is drjameswicks.com. Write me. Drop me a letter. Drop me an email. It's Saturday, August 13, 2016. And with that, may the white race, the pure race, the descendants of the man called Israel, who was once called Jacob, and with that, may the white race, the pure race, the descendants of the man called Israel, who was once called Jacob. We are the covenant people. We are the children of the promises of the Almighty Father. We are truly, i.e., God's chosen people. With that, I bid you adieu. Take care, be strong, be brave, be courageous, be wise, and safe at all times. Thank you.